Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, covering Ipswich Town since 2015. I'm Richard Woodward and you are tuned into episode 501. This time, the pre-match show, Sunderland Away edition, brought to you in partnership with our friends at the Greyhound Pub in Ipswich. You can catch us every week on podcast audio and video. And joining me this week for an hour or so of irreverent but always informative Ipswich Town chat is my good friend. Well, not anymore because I'm not invited to your coffee club according to the live show. I was watching. Evening, Steph. How you doing? I'm
not too bad, mate. Not too bad. It feels like a little while since we've done one of these together. I had one with Ben and you had one with Craig. And yeah, it must be a good couple of 3-4 weeks maybe since we did one of these together. So no, apologies for the coffee club.
It's fine. I'm an easy choice.
We've had so many nights out. You were simply the safe option.
You don't want to slag off anyone else. So I totally get that. And Ben was in there nice and early, so yeah, I totally get that, and probably you're not alone in those thoughts either. So if you don't know what we're talking about, firstly go and watch the excellent series of coffee club videos that the club are putting out on their social media, with stolen by Joe Piggott. Stole the show.
Best one so far this week, wasn't it? With him gate crashing the party.
He was with his sausage roll. So go and watch those and then go and watch the live show, which is still available from this week with Ben and Seb. And you can find them slagging me off and everyone else about who would be in their coffee club. We're here to talk about Sunderland. We've got some really chunky bits and pieces of news. In fact, I've done a pre-record with our friends at ITFC Women because they've got a big match coming up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little news bumper up. And then I'm going to go back in the past when it was daytime and talk to Kieran Stanley. So here we go. So joining us now, Kieran Stanley from ITFC Women. What's your official title, Kieran? I always get it wrong because it's got a very complicated, lots of words in it.
Technically media officer, but more, jack of all trades, master of none, to be honest.
I know what that sounds like. Don't worry about that. Great to have you with us. It's a really exciting time for ITFC Women. So great to get a view from inside the camp with a really exciting fixture coming up at the weekend. But first off, let's talk about the Women's FA Cup, because successfully through against MK Dons at the weekend, and Crawley Wasps up in the next round, which shouldn't present any fear for the girls because they beat Crawley Wasps earlier in the season.
I mean, yeah, it's a team we've already beat this season. It's a team that's in our division, so we know them reasonably well, similar to the MK Dons game this past weekend. But, Crawley are a decent side at this level, so we're going to have to play well. We're going to have to be on our game because it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a formality to get through. So performance and, result are going to be really important. As I said, just because they're in our division, it doesn't mean that it's a walkover. So it'll be a tough test for us, but one we're ready for.
And it's a really fair point because the win that I was talking about was a single goal margin, wasn't it? So admittedly earlier in the season. So I can put the league table up as well in a second, because the primary reason you're here to talk to us is about the league game coming up this weekend. So let's put the league table up very quickly. Crawley Wasps there in mid-table, but on a good points tally. So as you say, it won't be a walkover, and interesting that no draws there, which is always interesting. But the reason for covering our faces for those watching on the video is to show you the top of the table where ITFC Women sit proudly with a 9-point buffer to second place. If only it was so simple. As you can see there, Southampton having played 3 games less, and therefore that 3-game buffer can easily be eaten up, and with a superior goal difference at this point as well. But Kieran, it's the big one. We've had the warm up a couple of weeks ago in the League Cup, and now it's the big one. Are you excited?
Yeah, well, all of us are. I spoke to Olivia Smith last night for pre-match, which will be going out this week. or maybe by the time people have seen this, it might already be out. But she was saying that this is the kind of games that you play football for. This is what you train for. This is what you work towards, and there is a level of excitement towards it because this is a top of the table clash. And although a couple of weeks ago was exciting playing them in the first part of a trilogy in front of a big crowd in Felixstowe, it was a League Cup tie. But this time round, points are on the line. It's going to mean a hell of a lot more to both teams, and I'm sure it's going to live up to expectation.
Yeah, it's a tough trip as we know. Just for those listening or watching who are armchair supporters, as it were, of the ITFC women's team and not really aware of the mechanics of how promotion works, we kind of put the league table up there with Ipswich in top, Southampton in second, but really it's one place to compete for. From outside, it seems really harsh.
Yeah, I mean, I think we share that opinion, to be honest with you. And I'm sure a lot of clubs within the Women's National League would feel the same. They want to go back as of next season to a 12-team format in the league. So that's why there's extra relegation spots. But it also means only one team can go out of the division upwards. So the way that it works, and this has been the case in previous years, and we were kind of hoping that they would move on and maybe try and develop a more or a better path to get through into the Championship, because there are a lot of teams, including ourselves, that are good enough to play in the Championship, or at least compete to get into the Championship. You think of ourselves, Southampton, Wolves, Nottingham Forest, Derby County, all teams that have got ambitions of going higher. So the way that it works is it's from a few years ago. They've brought back the same system. I'm hoping it's going to disappear at some point, but it is the winner of the Southern Division plays the winner of the Northern Division in a one-off playoff final, and the winner gets promoted to the Championship. Which is bizarre, which is very harsh, especially if you're a team that's perhaps nearly gone unbeaten the entire season, and then you've got to play one more game, and if it doesn't happen to you on that day, that's almost like a harsh punishment. So it's not great, but it is what it is, and we've got to just do it. So, hopefully we can win this division first and foremost, and then secondly, hopefully we can go and face the Northern winner later in the season and beat them in a playoff final.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it? The first time at this level as well. Arguably, apart from maybe the Man City Cup tie, is this the biggest game perhaps in the history of in this latest reincarnation? I suspect it probably is, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say you're probably
not wishing
right.
to put the pressure on the girls, by the way.
Yeah, no, I'd say you're probably right. So far, I think this is definitely the biggest league game we've ever had, I think. Both teams unbeaten. Both teams have won every game in the league this season. Both have a lot of ambition, a lot of resource, a lot of good players, a lot of youth internationals, and a clear direction. So these are the two teams that are going to be at the forefront of this division. But the Women's National League as a whole, I think out of the two sides, I think, ultimately one's going to miss out at the end of the season. But whoever that team is will go again next year and would be, I would say, heavy favourites to then follow up the following year, because both of these teams ultimately are going to be in the Championship at some point, and hopefully the Women's Super League. It's just a matter of time.
Just thinking ahead to the game then, I'm not going to ask you for a score prediction, but what I will ask you, I will offer you in Mick McCarthy style, if I could offer you a point now, would you even travel?
I certainly think that we'd be happy with a point. It would keep the unbeaten run going, and would mean that obviously Southampton's winning run has stopped as well. But I think that would mean that they don't gain any ground on us, which is important. But I don't think you can have that particular mindset of let's just go down there. I don't want to do what Oxford did to the men's side at the weekend and turn up and and basically settle for a point from early doors. No, I think we have to have that mentality of going down there to win the game. Ultimately, we want to win this division. We're going down there to get all 3 points, and we're confident of doing so. So, yeah, as much as I'm sure coming away from it at the end of the day, if a point is what we get, I'm sure that will be fine. I'm sure we'll be happy with that. But we're, I'm under no illusions. We're going down there for 3 points, and we are fully intent on coming home with them.
Brilliant. I love that. The League Cup tie, really tight, wasn't it? And it took a quality goal to win it for Southampton. What was the thought in the group after that game?
There was a real air of optimism after the game, actually. I think it would be natural for players to feel a bit deflated. But actually, I think coming away from that, we thought, well, we more than matched them all game. And I think on basis of the whole game, we were probably just the better team and we had the better chances on the day. And if things fall for us better, then we could have won the game maybe 2 or 3-1. I think, especially you mentioned Sarah's chance in the last 3 minutes. If that flies in, it's going to be an interesting extra time period probably. But we had some good chances. We played really well on the day. We were organised. We were solid. We worked really hard, and there was nothing to separate the two teams other than a great strike from Lucia Kendall. So it was very, very fine margins. I'd expect the same to play out this weekend in terms of it being very cagey, very close, because it's the two best teams in the league going head to head. Obviously, this time round, it's on in their territory, and they have their crowd behind them. Because obviously we had a great crowd behind us at Felixstowe that day. But you've got to put that all aside and just focus on the job at hand. And like I said, we're going down there for all 3 points, and hopefully on the day, what went against us last time will go for us this time. Yeah,
fingers crossed on that. Finally, just very quickly, some bits and pieces of plugs. I'll put your the Twitter handle there at ITFC Women, all one word for the Twitter. We got to wish Abby Lafayette all the best, along with her teammates. Obviously, sponsored by Blue Monday. We're hoping to speak to her in the next few weeks, which would be great. Talk to us very quickly about True Blue and signpost, if you will, the next opportunity for folk to get down to Felixstowe and Walton. I know there's some difficulty around the 28th, which is the Sunday because of the crew match, but just tell us about True Blue and when we can get down to watch the girls.
Yeah, so True Blue is a membership scheme starting from £5 per month. It's basically the equivalent of a season ticket, but what it is every £1 that you contribute to becoming a True Blue member is going directly into the club and helping towards the success of the women's programme at Ipswich Town. So it's great value for money. Like I said, £5 a month minimum. You can pay more if you want to, and it gets you access into every home game. And obviously, if you end up having, say, 2 home games in 1 month, you're getting them for £2.50 a pop. So the value for money is there. We've been delighted about the amount of sign-ups we've had. Rich, I believe you signed up as well recently.
Yep.
So it's been fantastic, and hopefully we can continue to grow it and offer more as part of the package. So yeah, it's great. And with regards to the Crawley game, so yeah, we've been drawn at home to Crawley Wasps in the second round of the Women's FA Cup on the 28th of November, which is the same day that the men are playing Crewe at Portman Road. It does create a bit of an issue for us. I can't confirm anything just now, but we are in discussions with both the club and Crawley Wasps about the best possible action to take about potentially moving a game or a kick-off time or whatever. I'm working as hard as I can to try and find a solution, but yeah, at this stage, haven't had anything confirmed just yet, but hopefully that will change in the next couple of days or so.
Fingers crossed. We'll keep us posted on that. Kieran, thanks again for joining us. And as we always say, come on, you Blues.
Absolutely. Up the town.
There you go. If I'd been thinking about it, Seb, I would have done that kind of, I'm going to hand back to me in the past. Hi, past Richard, and yeah, all that kind of stuff. Or maybe some Wayne's World. Diddle-oo.
You've definitely missed a trick there.
Time. Big game for ITFC.
You should have done always do the Scooby-Doo ending.
Yeah. Fishy head ending. Yeah. Southampton for ITFC Women in the league on Sunday. Big one. Any thoughts on that one? I can get a prediction. I didn't want to press Kieran for a prediction, but I think you'd take an away point and put everything for the home match.
Yeah, big game, isn't it? It's clearly going to be one of us going into that playoff against whoever finishes top of the Northern Premier, or the Northern League, whatever it is. We drew with lost 1-0 in the cup a couple of weeks ago. Moment of quality, I guess, from Southampton. So it's a big game. We have a little predictions league that you and me are involved in with some other mates, and I predicted a 1-1 draw. I think it's it's the game where you take a point, isn't it? Without a shadow of a doubt. And then it all comes down to the big game in April, the penultimate game of the season, where we get them back at the Gold Star.
Indeed, yeah. And hopefully lots of people are in attendance. Talking of attendance, you were in attendance. See how I'd done that? Just off.
Effortless.
It's not even in the script. Effortless. You're in attendance at Boundary Park on Tuesday. Talk to us about your experience there, having seen an Ipswich Town FA Cup win, a very rare thing in the last 10, 15 years.
Very, very rare. Yeah, it was okay. Like me and Ben discussed last night, we made hard work of it. The first 20 to 30 minutes, we were pretty poor. Real lack of intensity, lack of pressing, lack of urgency, really. We were happy to sort of just sit back, and Oldham were pinging the balls out to the wide positions, and they were getting a lot of joy getting in around the back and getting balls across the 6-yard box. They fully deserved to go 1-0 up. They should have gone 1 up slightly earlier. Big save from Walton, so we could have no complaints that we, when we conceded the goal from the set piece. Then it was a complete gift, a very thankful gift, obviously, for Chaplin to get us back in the game. And then in the second half, again, it was a bit sort of meh. Everyone kind of felt it was petering out to the inevitable extra time and possibly penalties, and it just took an absolute moment of quality from El Mazzuni, didn't it? He picks the ball up, nobody closes him down. The technique is absolutely phenomenal. I assumed in real time it must have deflected because the keeper didn't move or anything, but as soon as you watch it back, it's just an absolute hell of a strike. So an absolute genius moment to win it, and the important thing, like Cook said afterwards, it was disjointed, but the most important thing is we're still in the cup with Barrow at home to come, which is a really winnable tie, and then hopefully maybe get a big boy in the third round in January. But yeah, the result was the most important thing, and I guess good to get minutes into the likes of Piggott, and good to see Clemens continue his little run at left back.
Yeah. Any anxiety, nerves at all about you're off to Sunderland, which we're going to talk about in detail? It's another game where, Oxford was an okay performance. We talked about that on the flagship last week, but struggling against the likes of Oldham and Cole, you was a bit of a slog as well. Any nerves or anxiousness about that?
It's a big game, isn't it? I guess a point against Oxford in a normal season isn't a bad result, but we've got to take into account the poor start we've had. So we really need to start beating some of these teams to start clawing back points on them. Our record at Sunderland, me and Ben discussed it last night. Our record at Sunderland is pretty abysmal. I remember seeing a win there with you in 2018, was it, when Joey Garner, I think, and Freddie Sears might have scored. But
that was the Sunderland till I die, Chris Coleman era, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't think of any other wins we've had up there. We always seem to lose up there. So I'll be honest, if you offered me a point right now, we'll do predictions at the end, but if you offered me a point right now, I'd snap your hand off. I guess we can't really use Oldham and Collier as outliers because the personnel will obviously change. We'll go back to the what is now the established starting 11. So you've got to hope that when the fitter players come back in and the ones who've been playing week in, week out and sort of know what's expected of them a little bit more and the patterns of play, we might look to get an improved result. We'll discuss Sunderland in a minute, that they are not in good form in the slightest. So it's a real opportunity for us to go there. And I guess with the wins that we've had against Portsmouth away, Wickham away, so far this season, we have managed to turn up at opposing grounds, in the big games and make a difference. But I'm always cautious with Sunderland because they're the biggest team in the league. Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, yeah, more to that in a second. Just finishing off the bits and pieces of news. Good news for Janoy Donacien. He signed a contract extension. Was out of contract in the summer. Will now stay for another season, and the club has an option on that as well. He's earned that, hasn't he, Seb?
Absolutely. Really, really well deserved. If you'd have said in pre-season that Janoy Donacien would be the first choice right back, we all would have assumed that Vincent Young was injured, but he's absolutely deserves it. He's in there on merit. He's come in, taken his chance. He's added some attacking, play to his game. He's got a few assists, and it's really, really well deserved. He was, he spent his time, out on loan at various clubs when Lambert didn't rate him. And I guess it's frustrating looking back. If Lambert had given him a chance when Vincent Young was out injured and we hadn't toyed around with Edwards at right back, you never know if it could have made a difference, but fully well deserved. Really, really happy for him. He seems to be a really good guy around the place, doesn't he? All the media and all the players say he's a really good influence in the dressing room. So fully deserved, and I'm really glad he's here to stay.
Well done, the Don. Yeah, well, that's a good bit of news. And finally, we need to talk about Pack Out PR, hashtag Pack Out PR. Lots of excellent fan-based initiatives happening in the last week or so. Lots more springing up as well. So keep an eye on social media, because I know lots of people are now gifting the extra tickets they've got as season ticket holders and all that stuff as well. So keep an eye on what's going on there. But we're saying, whilst we're packing out Portman Road, we're also packing out away ends. Seb, you are one of 2,000 supporters making their way up to the Stadium of Light on the weekend. And if you are making that trip while listening to us, safe journeys, safe travels, and we hope you bring us back 3 points. And the club have secured another 645 seats for the away game at Charlton, which now makes the total making the trip to South London 3,159. I think it's pretty impressive stuff, isn't it, Seb?
Yeah, crazy, especially on a Tuesday night. It just shows how we've kind of almost fallen in love back with the side. And, we know every single time we go, we're going to be entertained. We had so many years of dross, didn't we? How many 0-0s did we do as post-match reaction shows last season after watching on iFollow? This season, there's a real great feel around the club at the moment, backed up with all the pack-out PR and people's incredible generosity with donating tickets and stuff. And there's just a really, really good vibe, and that's being reflected in the away attendances because we know we're going to get a decent 90 minutes. Okay, we might not win, but we know we're going to see good football. We're probably going to see a lot of goals, and it's great to see, isn't it, after so many years in the doldrums?
Yeah, and to be fair, we even travelled in decent numbers when we were mediocre under Lambert as well. So this is no surprise, but just the volume now, and even 2,000 up to Sunderland is pretty good going, and you're right in the gods as well. So yeah. Our away support, as always, a massive credit, and hopefully, as we said before, Portman Road will be filled to bursting over the Christmas period as well. That's your lot on the news. Let's talk about the main event. And my headline for Sunderland, Seb, let's see whether you agree with this or not, is there's a lot of similarities with Ipswich in lots of different ways. Admittedly, you're going to tell us about the form in the league in a second, but in terms of the style of play, the tactics, maybe some of the deficiencies, the ability for the attacking players to float around and move and change positions, perhaps reliance on one striker to score the goals. I'm seeing a lot of similarities, apart from the league position, with us and Sunderland. Agree, disagree, and maybe link that into the form that they're in at the moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree with you. They're very settled in their formation, as are we. They have a couple of injuries, which we have a bit of that as well. We're all reliant on one guy up front to score the vast majority of the goals. So there are an awful lot of similarities. I think there's a bit of unrest amongst their fans that there's no plan B, which I guess we've had levelled at Cook every now and again as well in games when it's not gone our way. So the similarities are there. And I mean, I guess if you plotted both clubs as well over the last 10, 15 years since they were finishing 7th in the Premier League and we were finishing 5th, we've both just been on this downward trajectory due to poor ownership and stuff. And I guess, they were bought out last February, about 2 months before our buyout went through. So I guess you've got to be thinking the same kind of mindset as ourselves, that they're hoping for better days ahead. But yeah, there are an awful lot of similarities between us at the moment, aren't there?
And Lee Johnson was only appointed a couple of months before
December, wasn't it? Yeah, December 2020, and Cook comes in. Was it end of February, March time? I think it was. Yeah. So there's an awful lot of similarities. You've got a manager sort of trying to find his feet. Johnson did better last season. They managed to finish in the playoffs, didn't they? Obviously, whereas we fell away a little bit. But yeah, the similarities are there, are striking. That said, Lee Johnson does come with this reputation of streaky Lee. We saw it at Bristol City, where he can have these runs where he'll win a load of games, and suddenly when something turns and they start losing, it always reminds me of Football Manager. When you'd be doing really well, and then one thing would change, and suddenly you'd lose 6 or 7 on the bounce and have absolutely no idea how to turn it around.
And your team, coach says, "Oh, you should do a team meeting to boost morale." You do a team meeting, and it goes terribly wrong.
Yeah, or they recommend a formation change, and then you try it, and then you lose 5-0 in the next game or something, conceding after 30 seconds. Yeah.
Rage quit.
Yeah. So they are. They are not in good form. Lost 3 in the league. Lost in the FA Cup as well to Mansfield. I think they drew. Did they draw against Bradford in the Papa John's as well? So they are not in good form going into this game, which does make it a real opportunity for us, doesn't it?
Yeah, and they had started so well. I mean, the home form is pretty decent, home, but you're going to tell me about a bit of a surprise defeat recently as well, which maybe raises some doubts.
Yeah, so they're very good at home, obviously. So played 7 so far this season, won 6, only lost 1. But that 1-0, that one loss was a 1-0 at home to Charlton, just after Charlton sacked Nigel Adkins. So it's Johnny Jackson's first game. And I think that's the definition of a coupon buster. I actually had a bet on an accumulator that day, and I thought Sunderland are nailed on at home, 1-6 so far this season. Charlton in disarray, but no, Charlton turned up and beat them 1-0. So, they're very, very strong at home. Not great away from home, pretty average mid-table kind of form. They've played 8, won 3, drawn 1, and lost 4. And their record against the so-called big boys isn't that amazing either. They lost 4-0 at Pompey, 5-1 at Rotherham, 3-0 at Sheffield Wednesday. They beat Wickham, but that was quite early on in the season. So they're not amazing when they come up against one of the division's bad boys, which kind of reminded me of us under Lambert. Do you remember all those times we were ruthlessly efficient against the lower league sides? How many, 2-0 victories against the Rochdales and that kind of thing of the league? And then every time we came up against a supposed big boy, we always kind of struggle. And it just reminded me of that.
Yeah. I agree with you there, and the thing is as well with these defeats to the top teams in the division. Admittedly, these are away defeats, but they are big away defeats as well. And perhaps there's some.
It's not narrow, is it?
Tactical naivety on Lee Johnson's part there, behind that maybe, but at home a different prospect. Worth just finishing off the situation there. Obviously finished 4th last season and lost in the playoffs. Quite a surprise. I watched the second leg against Lincoln, and Lincoln did a really good job on them at the Stadium of Light there. And Charlie White was the key man, 26 goals and 45 apps. He's disappeared off to Wigan, I think it is. We'll talk about the ins and outs in a second. Aidan McGeady, though, you can still find him. He's hanging around. He was the king of the assists last season with 16. But perhaps,
he was brought back in, wasn't he, by Johnson? Johnson brought him back in from the cold. Parkinson didn't play him at all. I don't know why, but he came back in. Then he signed a new deal for this season as well. So he's such a key player in this league. I don't know what went on with him and Phil Parkinson, but as soon as Lee Johnson came in, he restored him on that left hand side, and he was rewarded with all the assists and all the goals, wasn't he?
Power's maybe waning though. I don't want to jinx it, and he's not my man to watch. I haven't got one this week actually, but sent off a few weeks ago, and from what I was reading with the Sunderland fans, to try and make an impact, he generally is a bad foul and maybe even a red card. So maybe not at the height of his powers anymore, but certainly at this level, as you say, capable of doing some damage. You mentioned our record against Sunderland. I mean, overall, head-to-head, home and away, it's pretty even actually. 23 wins each and 8 draws. Only 2 of those in the FA Cup in quite recent years actually. Definitely recall the FA Cup in the 2001 season as it was. Well, we got smashed 4-1, was it? I think.
Yeah, I think it wasn't there a game under Joe Royal as well. A couple of years later, I think we lose as well at Portman Road 2-1. I think maybe 2003, 2004. I think.
Check.
I think we lose in the FA Cup.
No, it was only 1-0 in the FA Cup in 2001. I may be confusing the league game, but yeah, and as I say, quite a lot of those 23 wins each and 8 draws are in the league. We've never played them in the League Cup, interestingly. I don't know whether that's interesting or not. But as you said, only 1 win at the Stadium of Light. They've been there since 1997. So, yeah.
Not a happy hunting ground, but like we keep saying, the opportunity is there. They're under a little bit of pressure. It would be quite easy. We've all seen the Sunderland Till I Die documentary. If you can make the crowd turn, they will turn, and it can be quite ferocious, can't it? So if we can keep the ball or score early or dominate possession, then hopefully we might start to get the locals angry, which will then translate to nerves on the pitch for Sunderland because they're under pressure. This is their 4th season. I know it's our 3rd season. This is their 4th season down here, and we all assumed, like we did with us, that we would bounce straight back, and I assumed they would bounce straight back, but I know they've been unlucky in the playoffs, but they can't spend much more time down here. They've got this big billionaire owner, but they're a club that really need to be moving up the pyramid, aren't they? They
do, and the owner's 24-year-old billionaire. What were you doing at 24?
Yeah, it's probably that picture you've got on Seb's Fact of the Week at 24, I'd imagine.
Yeah, not doing whatever he was doing. Maybe he's got rich parents. I think probably he's part of a dynasty or something like that. So maybe that's a factor there. Talking back about performances at the Stadium of Light, we were pretty unlucky actually. The season, was it 1920 possibly?
Yeah,
when we
go.
Went up there?
Well, we dominated in the first half, and we should have
scored.
Yeah, absolutely. The game was there for the taking, but I think I remember saying on the podcast at half time, you said, we've got this one in the bag. We can't possibly throw it away now. We're playing so well. And then, as always, we came out in the second half and we were awful, and we just sat back for 45 minutes. And they scored quite late, didn't they? I think they scored past the 80th minute, but as soon as it went in, it was over, wasn't it?
It was sucker punch. Well, it wasn't even a sucker punch at that point, was it? So we talked about the owner. We talked about our record. Lee Johnson, we briefly mentioned. How old do you think Lee Johnson is, by the way? I know
early 40s, 42, 43. He's only 40, is he? Yeah.
He's quite young, isn't he? He feels like he's been around forever.
Yeah, he does, I guess, but he was at Bristol City for so long. He's got a decent points per game record there. He's got, he's been in charge since last December, played 60, won 34, drawn 12, lost 14, 1.9 points per game across the season. That's got to be what, second place, 87, 88 points?
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, we need to see how long their streak goes, and hopefully we can continue it, because that's the issue, isn't it? They probably win lots and don't draw too many. Let's talk about personnel then, Seb. How many? 9 arrivals.
Yep.
4 permanents, 5 loans. Alex Pritchard, Corey Evans, probably the pick of those 2. I've singled out Elliot Embleton, who was at loan at Blackpool last season. 2 goals and 4 assists, I think, for them, and he's come in and is like a new player.
Yeah, he did well. They're this weird thing where they seem to be loaning players out to divisional rivals. We'll come on to the departures in a minute because they've done it again this season with Will Grigg. But yeah, it's strange. They don't mind loaning people out. I guess they don't perceive the clubs they loan them out to as a threat. But I guess with Blackpool, it came back to bite them properly, didn't it?
Yeah,
Alex Pritchard is the big one, isn't he? He's the big transfer. God, we went from Spurs to Norwich for big money. What was it, £8.5 million? Then Norwich to Huddersfield for £11 million, and now he went on a free this summer to Sunderland. So yeah, it shows how things can change so quickly in football. Made 5 starts this season, started around a third of the games, only 1 assist so far this year.
But it would probably be wanting to put one over on us if he's fit. There is some doubts about him.
There are. He's done the pre-match quotes this morning. I saw, hasn't he, come out saying this is a massive game and we need to be winning this and stuff. So he's already sort of stoked the fire a little bit. And
some familiar names departed in summer as well. One retired who we know all about.
Yeah, Grant Ledbetter moved on. So, I think he went back there. Was it 2 years ago? I think it was in the COVID curtailed season. He went back there from Middlesbrough. He retired last summer. And they just seems to have lost a lot of experience. Josh Scowen, they signed him from QPR, I think it was. He's gone to Wickham. Max Power and Charlie Wyke were big losses. Both went to Wigan on free transfers. I think we were linked with both in the early days of the transfer window, weren't we? I know we had the issue with Wyke a couple of years ago as well. We were linked with them, but they chose to go up to Wigan. Chris Maguire, who played out he was sort of could play as a centre forward or he could play out on the right wing. He went to Lincoln on a free. Remy Matthews is now the number 2 goalie at Crystal Palace. And Will Grigg, like I just said a minute ago, helping out other clubs in the same division. He's been loaned to Rotherham. And we all saw, I'm sure, the Sunderland Till I Die documentary where it's Stuart Donald sat on transfer deadline day saying, I want him. I'm not going above 2. And then somehow he bids 4 million. And it never worked, did it, Will Grigg?
And everyone's telling him not to do it.
Don't do it.
I remember Jack Ross saying he's not that. There's like this level here. He's not that kind of player, and I think he smashes it like double what Jack Ross said he was worth. It's kind of like when Simon Clegg signed Thomas Briskin for twice the money that Roy Keane thought he was worth. And Michael Leary always mentions it as well, by the way, in the Q&As. Okay. Every time he talks about spending money wisely in the transfer market, he says we could be one of those teams that just chucks money at a random player. But and how is 7 starts, 2 goals from Rotherham? I guess is.
Yeah, he went to, I think, did he go to MK Dons last year as well, I think, out on loan? Yes, so, for £4 million, they're going to be paying him a decent chunk of wage as well. So I guess they're in a scenario now where they just want him as much wage recoup as they can get to come in with the profit and sustainability rules.
So there's the personnel. We'll talk about the lineup and the team in a second. In terms of style of play and the kind of what we can expect from a Lee Johnson team, there's no surprises really. Goals, possession, but there's that defensive frailty there. You've kind of picked out 25 goals scored so far. That's the 9th best in the division. So not amazing. Average 10 shots per game, 50-50 on target, off target. But to me, the stat that I kind of singled out, which was interesting to me, was the amount of shots they concede per game. Yeah. Only Gillingham, Crewe, Morecambe have conceded higher than them. 14 on average, 14 shots conceded per game. I mean, they have been on the back end of some beatings, as we mentioned at the start, but 21 goals conceded, 1.5 goals per game-ish. Is that what you're?
Yeah.
Not great, is it? And that probably tells a story, doesn't it?
Yeah, we will get chances against them. That kind of sums up why they're 7th in the league. You're not going to get anywhere near the top echelons of the division with figures like that, are you? That shows they are there for the taking. There will be opportunities created, and it's important that our players on the day, the 3 behind Macaulay Bonne and Bonne himself, if they get those chances, just be clinical and take them, because they will present offers to us. Yeah,
and 52.7% possession is pretty good.
Yeah.
Most of those short passes as well. Key passes tend to be short. 86% of their key passes. I never looked up what a definition of a key pass is, but I'm sure it's important and I'm sure it matters. 86% though tend to be short. Attack down the wings. No surprises there. Mostly down the right hand side when they're at home. Well, that will become clear in a second when we talk about personnel. You've kind of remarked here, Seb, through balls, but it's possession, isn't it? It's patient possession.
Yeah.
And then
keep the ball in your own half and then look for that killer ball, get the likes of Embleton involved and that killer ball through to Ross Stewart, who is proving clinical so far this year.
Yep. And formation-wise, is this going to be a matchup?
Isn't it? Yeah, it's a guarantee 4-2-3-1. They've done it in 14 out of the 15 league games so far this season. The other one was a 4-3-3, which is basically the same. You just position a central midfielder slightly differently, don't you? So he's very, very much wedded to this, very much like what Cook is. There is no real kind of plan B. I think he did play two up front at one point, Broadhead and Stewart up front, but it will be Ross Stewart. He's had a doubt with a shoulder injury, but yeah, I'm sure he'll be back as the lone striker and the focal point of the team.
And this is what I was reading. They played two up front once, I think it was. I don't know if we might have missed that one in our research. Broadhead and Stewart up front, and I think they beat Cheltenham 5-0 playing that system. But it was similar to the kind of clamour for two up front that we had and Paul Cook had. I don't know whether we were all privy to that or party to that suggestion. But you're right. I think it's going to be the one up front, particularly against us. There's weaker opposition. You could afford maybe to do two up front, but yeah,
it's very much going to be a matchup for two lots of 4-2-3-1, and hopefully we won't cancel each other out. I did like it last week when you and Craig were discussing the Oxford game, and you said there's definitely going to be goals in it, etc. So I'm not going to curse anything based on what you guys said last week.
And in my head, I'm thinking it's going to be 0-0. It's going to be 0-0, and I should have put money on it. Always the way there should have been. I mean, yeah, there were chances, but yeah, we were not we won't try and do too many of those kind of dramatic kind of irony set things up to fail. Talking through the team then, Seb, because there's starting from back to front. I know Lee Burge is there. There's quite a few ex-Coventry alumni there. Lee Burge being one. Jordan Willis, I think the right back is still there, but not really featuring. But
he's had a bad injury. He did his cruciate, I think, in the summer, so he's out, or late last season, so he's out for the entire season. So I mean, it's pretty easy, I think. Obviously, we don't know injury news, but it's pretty easy to predict the side. To be honest with you, you're looking at Ron Hoffner in goal. He's played 10 out of the 15 games so far this season. Only 22 years old, so quite young and quite inexperienced. On loan from Bayern Munich, as you just mentioned, Lee Burge there is the other option, but he's only played 3 times this year, so I think he's firmly the backup. The fullbacks are where they've got issues. So they signed Niall Huggan in the summer, but he got a bad injury at the end of August, and I think he's out till after Christmas. And Denver Hulme was the left back, who I think has got an ankle injury and is out for a couple of months now. So they've lost their first choice right back and left back. So what they've done is they've shifted a guy called Carl Winchester from central midfield to right back. Whenever I hear his name, I think of the Far Show. Do you remember Ed Winchester? Hi, I'm Carl Winchester.
I was thinking of the Winchester pub in Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, okay, yeah. Wait for it all to blow over. So he's gone to right back, and he's doing pretty well, to be honest with you. He's got 3 goals, 1 assist. He started every game there, so he's doing pretty decently. Dennis Kirkin is the other one who's playing on the left. Now he's a sort of a kid they signed from Spurs Academy in the summer. He's got 2 assists, but Denver Hulme was the fully established current left back before the injury, so he's kind of being thrown in a bit at the deep end there. Centre backs, they've got a guy on loan from Man City, Callum Doyle, only 18 years old, but he started pretty much most. I think he's 12 or 13 of the league game, so clearly he's very highly rated, and they must be seeing something really, really good in him. And the other centre back is likely, I would think, to be Tom Flanagan. He sat with a suspension. He had an injury at the start of the season, but it's likely he'll be the other centre back. If not, it'll be Bailey Wright, who obviously Lee Johnson knows very well from his time at Bristol City. But I think it'll be Flanagan and Doyle in the middle, Winchester on the right, and Kirkin on the left hand side. The 2 sitters in midfield will be Daniel Neal, come through the academy, started 13 of the 15 games, and Luke O'Nien. I remember Luke O'Nien in the Sunderland documentary came across really well. I think they signed him from Wickham, and he came across as a really, really good guy. You know, he was one of those where he felt he got that move to a big club. And I remember he was painting seats with the fans and stuff at one point. So good to see him doing well. He seems like a decent guy. He can play in quite a lot of positions. He can play as a right back, defensive midfielder, or slightly more advanced if you want to. But this season he started 14 of the 15 games in that central midfield too, just acting as the defensive screen for the centre backs. Corey Evans is the captain when he plays, one of the summer arrivals. And then it's the 3 behind the striker and the striker where they really, really got some decent options, isn't it? You know, we've already discussed Aidan McGeady on the left, 12 out of 15 games so far this season, 2 goals, 4 assists. But he is an injury doubt, so hopefully he won't be fit. If he isn't fit, I assume that Aidan O'Brien, that guy they signed from Millwall, is likely to come in and take his place again. Another really, really good quality player at this level. On the right, Lyndon Gooch. I always liked Lyndon Gooch. I'm sure he hit the post against us a couple of years ago. He went on like a mazy run, if I remember rightly, up against, I think it was Miles Kenlock, or it might have been the guy on loan from Preston. I'm not sure, but I always like him. I always think he's a decent player, American. He's been bit of injury prone, had a month out, but he's come back in and started the last 3. Only 1 assist so far this season, but I think he'll be on the right hand side. And then the guy from Blackpool who came back from Blackpool, Elliot Embleton, is likely to be the central attacking midfielder. 2 goals, 3 assists so far this year. Sunderland Academy prospect, and he had his year out at Blackpool last year and did very, very well.
I'm just our script, which we've written in advance. I don't know if this is an autocorrect or something else. Elliot Emblazon is what we've called him. So let's hopefully he doesn't emblazon himself on the match on Saturday. A name that I guess would have caught the eye because he's on loan from Union Berlin, and he's made a contribution largely from the bench, I guess. 2 goals from 2 starts and 4 subs appearances is Leon Dejaku. He can play anywhere, but Alex Pritchard, we mentioned him, he can play anywhere as well. You mentioned
so can Aidan O'Brien, can't he? They've got that flexibility.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
So there is that ability for them to kind of do the cup and balls trick and move people around if they want. And Aidan McGeady, we do think is a doubt. But you're probably right that Aidan O'Brien would likely come in.
He'd slot in on the left, wouldn't he? Yeah, I assume so. Yeah.
And then up front,
it's all about the attack. The main guy, isn't it? Their equivalent of Macaulay Bonne. It's Ross Stewart, came from Ross County in 2018. Unremarkable first couple of years there, a couple of goals in 11 games last season, and this year he's just really taken his chance. I guess with the likes of Wyke and Grigg and Maguire moving on, he's been given the opportunity, and he's not looked back. Has he? 10 goals so far this season. He's only 1 behind Macaulay Bonne. 3 in the 6-yard box, 7 in the penalty area. So he's a bit of a fox in the box, a bit of a poacher, and he's doing really, really well. He's not great in the air. He's reasonable in the air, but he's not overly quick or overly strong. I guess he's one where they look for those through balls really to put him in, and so far this season he's really, really taking his chances. He was, however, injured though, wasn't he? He didn't play against Mansfield or Bradford in the Papa Johns.
Yeah, so it's a weird one, isn't it? This injury. Yeah, he's kind of got bundled over.
Yeah,
some advertising hoardings, I think it was.
It was a shoulder injury, wasn't it? So fingers crossed he won't make it. But I think all the media up there are expecting him to play. So they're
going to inject him with something, apparently, painkiller injections
for this level of game.
But you never pick those on Football Manager, do you? Have you ever done that option? It's always the physio or the doctor, isn't it?
Yeah, I've never asked them to play through the pain barrier. I did it once and they got really moved. I've never since.
Well, the option's there, and that's what Lee Johnson will do, probably to see them through. And it's
if he is out, if Ross Stewart is out, it would likely be Nathan Broadhead up front. He's on loan at them from Everton. He's made 1 start, 4 sub appearances, but not scored so far this season. He's very much the Joe Pigott to the Macaulay Bonne. Same sort of scenario. He's very much the reserve player, but he'll be the natural one to come in if Ross Stewart for any reason doesn't make it.
Yep. So that's the lineup then. Do you want to give us some insights? We'll do some predictions in a second, but you've done some research, haven't you, on Sunderland? I don't know if this is about the city or the football club, but let's put the music on anyway.
Brilliant. Right, fact of the week. Sunderland are the only team in England to have won a major trophy during the reigns of every single monarch that has been on the English throne since organised football began. They won 3 league titles under Queen Victoria, 1 league title under Edward VII, 1 league title under George V, 1 league title on the brief reign of Edward VIII, an FA Cup under George V, and an FA Cup under Elizabeth II. No other team has ever done that. So every monarch they've won some sort of trophy under since organised football began.
Brilliant. That's great. That's a good fact.
So. Well done. And they are also the most recent champions of England to wear stripes, 1936.
Double bubble. Love it. There you go. Seb's fact of the week. I feel like I need to bookend it with the music again. I've got nothing more to say apart from excellent factage. So looking ahead I'm just going to keep going as if that never happened, that music. What's your thoughts, predictions about the lineup that you're expecting to see in Sunderland on Saturday? Bailey Clements left back is probably one of the questions. Not sure. Selena versus Chaplin's also a big question for me. What would you do
on the left? I did this with Ben before the Oldham game 2 weeks ago, and I got 1 right out of the entire 11. So surely I can improve on that record. I mean, Walton will continue in goal, obviously. Donassi in right back, I would think. It will be Nsiala and it will be Edmondson as the centre backs. And I guess, do you go? If Coulson's fit, does he come back in? With Paul Cook, we never know, do we, where where people are at. Bailey Clements did well against Oxford by all accounts. I wasn't there, but he did struggle a bit on Tuesday night, but he had no protection from the guys in front of him. So I guess if you're going to play Bailey Clements, you kind of have to play Carl Edwards at left midfield to give him that natural bit of protection and shielding. The midfield too will pick itself. It'll be Morsey and Evans. Morsey is now on 4 yellow cards, isn't he? So he's 1 away from a suspension. So hopefully that won't kick in for Rotherham. And then personally, I'd play Chaplin as the 10, Burns on the right, Chaplin as the 10, Edwards on the left, and obviously Macaulay Bonne up front. I just think Chaplin, I don't know, Selina's the big name player, and he's had some big moments this season, but when he's off it, like he was against Oxford, he can either be brilliant or he can really, really struggle. Whereas I think Chaplin might offer a little bit more in terms of his energy, and he's looking to get forward and support Macaulay Bonne. So I would personally go Chaplin in the number 10 behind Bonne.
Yeah, I think I agree with that as well. Burns didn't have the greatest of games on Saturday, but I think he's got to play. Played right back, didn't he, against Oldham?
Yeah, he was all right. He was okay. His crossing wasn't amazing on the night. Aluko played well ahead of him, so I guess Aluko is the natural other option. But Burns has got that explosive pace. He's got the good understanding with Bonne, so I'd always have him in there personally.
Yeah, I think that's right. Do I ask you for a prediction, or do you just want to give me a match outcome prediction?
I'm going for a 2-2 personally. There'll be goals. I think this will be the curse when like you did last week. I think there'll be goals. Obviously, they're conceding an average of 1.4 per game. We're scoring freely, so I think there'll be goals in it, and I think 2-2.
Okay, I was thinking 2-2, but I'm going to be different, and because you've mentioned it so many times now, I'm going to say 0-0. There you go. I do think I think it'll be a draw.
2 0-0s on the bounce in the league. Surely.
Yeah,
not.
I just am not massively impressed with our attacking threat at the moment. And now, admittedly, we hit the post twice against Oxford, and we scored twice against Oldham. And I just wonder whether it's time. I think Bonne has had a really great run in the team, and I just worry that we don't have a ready replacement for him. Obviously, Piggott's still getting up to fitness and is a good footballer in his own right. And I'm not saying start him on Saturday, but I do think Bonne possibly needs a bit of a break. Hopefully he gets, he scores on Saturday. That's the ideal situation. But I do think we put a lot of our eggs in the Macaulay Bonne basket, and I just worry that's a bit of a pressure on him. And as the Ipswich boy, one of our own, I wonder whether he feels that pressure as well, and whether he's just a bit exhausted. You know what I mean? But
yeah, maybe when he was rested, wasn't he? He didn't play against obviously Oldham the night, so we had a bit of a rest there. But I see what you're saying. His style of play,
exhausted maybe.
Yeah, his style of play as well will naturally, cause him to be knackered because he puts himself around so much. He's always pressing, always running, isn't he? So yeah, I guess we need Piggott to get up to speed and have a couple of games against Arsenal under 21s and Barrow in the Cup for a few more minutes and hopefully provide a different option because Jackson can't play that role. We know that, and Norwood's out of the picture, isn't he? So I guess we're kind of reliant on him until Piggott gets up to full speed.
Yeah, well, there you go. We've predicted a draw. We hope we're wrong and there's an Ipswich win, but we always glass half empty. Then you lower your expectations, and then when something good happens, you're much happier about it. So that's what we're going for. Thank you, Seb, for some excellent research, some bits of information there for all of us. I'm sure everyone well prepared for what we have to face against Sunderland. In terms of bits and pieces of other information you need to know, bluemonday.itfc.co.uk, where you can find all of our details, all of our socials, all of our audio feed, our YouTube feed. If you want to support the podcast financially with a donation, all the details are on there. Thank you to the folks who donated, I think Bits and Gary, was it, I think, on a Wednesday night. So thank you to them. And every few weeks, we update the end credits with everyone's names who supported us. And we'll probably flip it around at some point and say thank you properly as well. So if you want to do that, we're massively appreciative. It just helps us do more and more stuff. So hopefully you guys see the benefit of that, and we do appreciate it. Episode 502 will be the flagship show on Sunday with as many of our team as we can muster. It might be that Seb, you drop out, but you've had 2 appearances this week, though, haven't you?
I have. I'm in negotiations with the other half to see if I can make an opinion. We have plans on Sunday night, which I'm trying to rearrange. So fingers crossed, I might be able to make a cameo appearance. Maybe with a
pre-record something.
We'll see.
Yeah. So 502 out on Monday morning as usual, and then next week we'll see what we can do about Rotherham post-match game. Obviously, for away games, it's much easier. You might prefer to do Wednesday. So we'll let you know about that. But usual pre-match show flagship next week. Worth also mentioning our interview with Mark Donaldson from ESPN still available to watch. The book, Paul Mariner, my rock and roll football life, is it story? I always get that the words wrong on that one. The book is out in the Planet Blue store now, though, so you can buy it now, and then you can meet Mark. There's a signing on Tuesday before the game. I think it kicks off 5:30, 6:45, something like that.
5:30 in Planet Blue, isn't it?
So yeah, if you're not aware of that situation, what's going on there, and want to find out a little bit more about the book, do listen again to that. We had some really excellent feedback, so thank you to that. Mark was super generous. I really didn't have to do much, which is always good for me as an interviewer. Some really fascinating insights onto the process, working with Paul, obviously, and then he revealed some of these excellent Ipswich Town anecdotes. So a must for Ipswich fans. Yeah. Young and old, I would say. The book, Paul Mariner, My Rock and Roll Football Story, out now in Planet Blue. We've also sent a link. If you can't go to Planet Blue in person or ITFC shop, there's another link as well. So all of that stuff.
That's my playlist for the drive tomorrow. I must say as well, whilst I hate to give you credit, really, really well done with that interview. It was superb. And also the Football Manager one you did with Joe, that's really, really interesting as well. I mean, I've been playing Football Manager for years. I'm a big, big fan of it, but I strongly recommend people go back and have a listen to that, because some of the stuff I learned was really, really good. So a big plug for that as well. Two excellent interviews. Well done.
You can stop being nice to me now, because we have to go and face off in Football Room 101. And just catching folk up where we are. Oh, come on, our faces are very rapidly there, don't I? Craig won last week, blah, blah, blah. He did a 2-for-1. I think that's cheating. And because Seb has not done as many rounds as I have, we've got the same amount of points, Seb, but you've done one
points
less.
Per game.
So points per game, on points per game, you should be... Craig should be
Craig
first.
Should be top, shouldn't he? Yeah.
I do whatever I want. I'm the one who's got controls. Not the table, it looks like. But Craig has had another good week. He's got 3 out of 3. He's doing really well. We need to figure out how to beat Craig. But you are now top of the
Streaky Lee earlier, didn't we? You're on a bit of a bad run of form with these, aren't you? I'm surprised you not got rid of it as a feature. I was expecting you to text saying, "No, that's it. Get rid of it. Call it all off."
I thought I did text that.
Yeah, okay, right. Okay.
Yeah, new feature. If I don't win this week, no pressure. Everyone's now going to vote for you, because this is how it works. As soon as I say something, people hear it. Oh, yeah. So, I could say anything in Football Room 101. I could put in, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go negative.
Oh, yeah,
let's be positive.
Yeah.
Let's lift the mood. Do you want to go first or second?
Nope, you can go first tonight.
I want to offer up for Football Room 101 undisclosed transfer fees. I just don't get it. Actually, I do get it. I know exactly what undisclosed transfer fees are. This is hiding something. One part of the negotiation has not worked out for one of the teams or for the player's agent, and they're embarrassed about the deal that's been struck, so they don't want to put the fee there. I hate undisclosed transfer fees. Put the number out there, because we can't understand the situation. We don't know whether a player is good value or bad value, and I just think it's murky. In a world of financial fair play, if you are negotiating deals that have got weird complex add-ons or commercial rights things, and you're hiding them behind an undisclosed transfer fee, I am suspicious about you. So I'm putting these in Room 101 for what good it will do. And it will also mean that when we do our research, Seb, for these shows, and we go on to Transfer Marked, and we look at all the transfers that teams have made, we don't have a question mark next to the player's name, and we can actually get a sense of how much their market value is. So ran over, undisclosed transfer fees. Your time is up. I'm coming for you.
But it can be a useful tool, can't it? You don't want to show your hand early on in the window. If we'd have gone out, let's say, I don't know who the first person we signed money for, if we'd have gone out and the fee had been announced, that could have really, really screwed us over with deals later on down the line, because it might have shown... Oh, he's got his hand up. Here we go.
No, keep going.
All right, it might have shown our hand. They might have thought, they're willing to pay X amount for Scott Fraser, whatever. Let's if they're now interested in this player, let's add another 500 grand to the price. So it can be a defensive tool as well.
Yeah, I get that, and bloody hell!
Also, you get to see it at year end, don't you? Or 18 months later, when the accounts are published, you will see it. You won't see specifically, but you'll just see a total amount, and you can probably kind of work it out.
I don't know. I think you can amortize and do all kinds of clever. It's called window dressing, Seb, in the word of accountancy. I do get your point though, and I wish you'd mentioned it to me in advance so I could have prepared for it.
I thought of it straight away, but obviously I didn't bring it up because I want to win.
My rebuttal is. Then I agree. That's sensible. So publish all the transfer fees at the end of the transfer window.
Okay, yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, like we did with agent spending fees. If there was an announcement afterwards to say this is what we spent, but then it will screw you later down the line. You know, if you go into January, you know, if you want to buy a player, and they'll say, well, last window you spent this, and I don't know. I think it's there to protect.
Let's not pretend though that teams, chairmen, agents, they know what money we're spending.
Well, to be fair, yeah.
It's all a murky little, you know, everyone's chats. There's back channels and all secret chats, and agents know. Everyone knows. Players know. So let's not pretend that this is. I know it's not public domain, but it's in the football domain, and I just think it's trying to pull the wool over. And as I said, with FFP, with all these teams getting points deductions, I think it's high time we know what money was being spent. So there you go, undisclosed transfer fees.
Fair enough. Okay, this week I'm going to go 4. So I stood there on Tuesday night in the drizzle and the rain and the cold, and it got to the 83rd minute when El Mazzuni scored, and I thought, hang on a minute, we're going to be having extra time here. And I suddenly thought to myself, why do we bother having an extra 30 minutes in cup replays? What's the point of it? Why don't we just go straight to penalties to decide a winner? It seems to be such more common sense. You know, why do we play for another half an hour? We saw it as well in the Euros and stuff where teams are knackered, you know, and they're just basically hanging on. There's no real sort of quality of football. Sides tend to hang on just to try and get to the penalty shootout. We got rid of them last year with it being a COVID curtailed season and a shorter season. But yeah, in this day and age, you know, you don't get any extra revenue by playing an extra half an hour. Everyone's already paid their money to be in the seats and watch the 90 minutes. Just end it and go straight to penalty shootouts to help ease some of the fixture congestion. That's my Room 101 this week. So
I've got a pro and con for you on that, and it's an understandable one.
Are you going to say Bolton in the playoffs?
I was going to say no. I was going to say I'm going to say Stockport from Wednesday night.
Okay, yeah.
You're denying Stockport the magic of the FA Cup by doing that.
Is that magic? A non-league side beating a League One side? Is it magic?
I'd say so. 5-3.
It's not magic though, is it?
Well, they're going to talk about that in Stockport for weeks.
Brilliant.
So, I see where you're coming from. I'd go one stage further, but it's right that you do this because I've tried to get rid of the transfer window, tried to get rid of throw-ins. If I can't have it, I like the atomic option. I think what should have happened in the first game against Oldham and in any cup tie in the FA Cup, particularly the first few rounds, is I think the teams should get to full time and be given the choice. Do you want a replay? Do you want extra time? Do you want penalties? If they can't agree, it goes to a replay. Okay. Otherwise, if they agree, extra time or penalties, and just end it there and then. Avoid the replay because we wouldn't have wanted the replay. I guess Oldham might have wanted it, but they only got 2,000 in for the game, didn't they?
I was going to say they didn't
sell out, was it?
No, they didn't benefit massively, and they've got their own issues going on in the league, haven't they? So, you know, I don't see who benefited from that. I guess when it gets to the third round, you know, if Oldham had knocked us out and they were to draw Liverpool away and get a replay, then absolutely, completely different scenario. But in these early rounds, it's pointless. But also, I'd have it, you know, if it was an all Premier League tie in the third, fourth, fifth rounds, I'd end that at 90 minutes as well. Don't have a replay there as well because they don't need the money, do they? Go straight to penalties with them and get it done. And yeah, in this day and age with football congestion and players being absolutely knackered, just get rid of the extra 30 minutes because I don't think anybody benefits from it.
And it works well in the EFL trophy, doesn't it? Or the Pizza Cup, doesn't it? So yes.
And we did it last year. They did it last year when they got rid of the extra time for the COVID season. So they have done it before. So that's my Room 101 this week. Okay. Get rid of the 30 minutes. So either undisclosed transfer fees or getting rid of the 30 minutes extra in cup replays.
Vote in our Twitter poll and vote with your hearts. Vote with your minds. Vote with your souls. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm going to shut up. Let's put the music back on. That is your lot. Thank you if you've made it this far into the podcast. It's been great to have you with us. Blue Monday ITFC, Blue Monday ITFC.co.uk. I wonder whether that will make the edit. I don't know. We'll find out. And all the details there for all of our shows coming up. are available there. Our social media details are on screen at the moment. Ipswich and Browns S08. Browns 08.
Brown S08.
Are you looking for a different Twitter handle? It's not the easiest ones to remember, is it?
It was my work username for like 11 or 12 years, so I've kept it for literally everything.
Have a look, see what you can find.
I'm not that invested.
In the comments, Twitter's new, Seb's new Twitter alias. Get that in the comments.
That might be my Room 101 next week. People who try and get proper Twitter is it a handle? Is that what it's called?
Twitter alias or something.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll bow down to your superior knowledge. I'm nowhere near invested enough.
Okay, fine. Well, Browns 08. Go and tweet him about how we should get a better Twitter handle. And you can join us, as we mentioned, for episode 502 out on Monday morning. With the flagship show talking all about Sunderland post-match. And as always, we need to say thank you to our friends at the Greyhound who are supporting us. If you want, I know we don't have a home match this weekend, but why not go to the Greyhound and have a Sunday roast?
Yeah.
Perfect. Any day of the week, the Greyhound is a cracking place to go. And obviously Tuesday night, if you're looking for a pre and post-match venue before Rotherham, again, Greyhound. Go and see the amazing team at the Greyhound.
Is it Crew on the following Sunday? You've got to get your roast in at the Greyhound before then.
Sunday roasty. Yeah. Oh, don't mention that because everyone's going to nick my idea. It's pretty much roasty. Yes, there'll be a run on roasts at the Greyhound. So thank you to them for their support this season on this show. Seb, I'm going to let you sign out and send everyone up to Sunderland with positive vibes. But I want to thank you for all your time and effort doing the research, and everyone else again for watching. And Seb, I will hand over to you.
Have a great weekend, everybody who's going up there. Let's bring back 3 points and come on, you Blues.